The Trans-Siberian Railway expansion. What's new and what's next? Let's find out. The Trans-Siberian Railway, which is Russia's main way to travel across Eurasia, is getting some repairs right now. Once, freight shippers liked the railroad because it was cheaper than the sea route between Asia and Europe. However, these shippers lost business when the Soviet Union broke up and chaos ensued. To get the line back to being the best way to move goods between Asia, where countries like China have become the engine of the world economy, and Europe, improvements are being made quickly to make trains go faster and allow for more freight. This is being done in an effort to revive the line's former status. The coronavirus pandemic caused a sharp drop in the amount of cargo that can be shipped by air, a lot of traffic at sea freight terminals, and shipping costs between Asia and Europe skyrocketed. This new focus on the railway, which is the longest in the world at 9,300 kilometers, comes at the same time that the pandemic is making these problems worse. By the end of May, work was going on in Andrianovskaya, which is southwest of Irkutsk, one of the most important cities in the East Siberian Economic Zone, to cut down the hillside so that the railroad line would be straight. Over 60 construction workers had set up camps in the area, and dump trucks often drove along the unpaved roads, making a cloud of dust. The work is part of a project to increase the average speed of trains from 60 km per hour to 80 km per hour. Sergei Fursov, an engineer for the Russian railways who works in the Eastern Siberian branch, was quoted as saying, "Without a big speed boost, it's not possible to offer more services. But we also have a duty to make trains less likely to go off the tracks, which happens more often when trains are both faster and longer." As a result of the series of improvements, the length of the freight carriages will be increased to a maximum of 1 kilometer, and the number of carriages will go up by 20%. The railroad is trying to solve problems that have been brought up many times over the years, such as late trains and damaged goods. In 2020, the Trans-Siberian Railway and the Baikal-Amur main line could move a total of 144 million tons of freight. This is a 50% increase from 2012. The Baikal-Amur main line runs north of the TSR and through eastern Siberia and the Russian Far East. But because of the pandemic, there were a lot less flights between Asia and Europe that carried people. Because of this, there was a big drop in the amount of freight that could be sent by air. The rising cost of marine freight has put a strain on the capacity of the transportation system that connects the East and West. Due to the Trans-Siberian Railway's schedule being too full, there is a lot of excitement about the work that will be done to completely rebuild the Baikal-Amur main line as a bypass to increase freight capacity. By the end of 2024, the line will have been double-tracked thanks to more construction work. This will make it easier to ship coal, oil, and lumber to Asia along the route. The Baikalsky Tunnel was just built in the Republic of Buryatia, about 2 hours away from Severodvaikalsk. It's the second longest railway tunnel in Russia and has a total length of less than 7 kilometers, so work on the second track has reached its final stages at the place in question. Vladimir Goncharov, who is the deputy director of the Department of Building Preparation, says that the expansion will help increase the resource exports, especially to countries in Asia. "We will help with efforts to send more resources to China, Japan, and South Korea. Also, it will help the areas along the railroad line grow. 2 Japanese logistics companies are among the businesses in Asia that want to make money from the growing number of service options. Hankyu Hanshin Express Company and Toyotrans Inc. have started regular freight services with ships leaving from Toyama Newport in central Japan's Toyama Prefecture and docking at Vladivostok, the largest Russian port in the Pacific Ocean and one of the line's ends. These ships leave from Toyama Newport, which is in the Toyama Prefecture. From the outside, it looks like the 2 businesses are separate, but they share the same shipping freight and train route. At Vladivostok, the cargo is moved from the ship to the train, where it stays in bonded storage until it gets to Poland. From there, it gets sent all over Europe. Since the first shipment left the port on February 2nd, subsequent freights have left about once every 2 weeks. A Hankyu Hanshin spokeswoman said that the company's been getting a lot of questions and requests from customers. Isio Takahashi, the president of Toyo Trans, says that the epidemic has slowed down international travel, which has made people more interested in the railway as an alternative way to travel. There's a backlog of containers at the biggest ports in Europe, and ships are waiting for them while they're anchored offshore. Because a ship ran aground in the Suez Canal, all sea routes also stopped, he told Takahashi. As we work harder to cut down on carbon emissions, we're increasing our marketing of new international logistics routes. In addition to making improvements to the Trans-Siberian Railway, people are also working to protect the environment from any risks that could come from making it bigger. These hazards include increased air and water pollution, as well as noise pollution. There's a point where the railroad lines come into contact with Lake Baikal, which is a place that's included as a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site and also known as the Jewel of Siberia. Customers all over Europe are paying close attention to what's being done to keep this valuable natural resource safe. In 2019, a base for emergency response teams was set up along the Baikal-Amur main line. Ships and recovery vehicles will get regular training to lessen the damage that could be done to the environment if freight trains derailed and oil spilled into the lake. The person in charge of the recovery operation thinks it will take 4 hours to finish. Also, the Russian government plans to make rules even stricter than they are now. The director of the Center for Environmental Protection, Vyacheslav Zdor, said it's our duty to limit the damage to the environment while building the railway. The different Trans-Siberian Railroad companies' names were shortened to Blue, Red, and so on. Despite this, and the fact that the design is too traditional, these soulless stocks still have a certain amount of life. Even though the actors are fallible people who are in charge of the action, this situation has an interesting dramatic flow. When their stock prices don't meet the Tsar's expectations, everyone in the room will sometimes give a round of applause to the brave underdog who just barely avoided being taken over by the government. Most of the time, this is because of the work of temporary alliances that were absolutely necessary. These alliances were nice touches of cooperation in a game that was otherwise very competitive. There will be other times when stocks you have ignored for a long time will suddenly become important for the economy. This can lead to unplanned forays into a company's channels that are only meant to put company back into their shrinking bank account. Once thought of as abstract cubes, these companies will play close games of cat and mouse along the stock and income tracks as they try to get the highest dividends while others fail because their stock prices are too high. Trans-Siberian Railroad is different from other books like it because it has these tense situations where every choice has repercussions that happen further down the line. Surprisingly, the game never stops surprising the players, even though repeat matches make it easier to figure out strategies and understand what's going on. Even if you think you have everything figured out, you'll probably still play games with different rates of nationalization. You should get ready for this to happen. In the end, this quick bullet train version of 18xx never stops surprising as an unassuming playground for player-driven excitement. It's important to note that nothing from the game depends on random chance. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for more.